Good afternoon. My name is Adrienne Ackerley, and I'm your host today. To help us avoid any unnecessary background noise, may I ask, if you have not already done so, please enter your audio PIN, which you will find on the right side of your screen. You simply press the pound sign, then the number listed, and then the pound sign again directly into your phone. Or if you wish, you can simply hit the mute button on your own phone. Welcome to our Energy Edge webinar. Degree days are down 23%, but e-commerce sales are up 18%. This webinar is geared to take approximately 45 minutes, as we know that your time is valuable. Once we have completed, we will open it up to a short Q&A section, so please hold your questions until then, or you can simply type them in on the right side of your screen and we will address them after the presentation. Again, on the right side of your screen, you'll notice within the GoToMeeting box a section called Chat. Simply type your questions in there as you think of them, and we'll get to them at the end of the webinar. John Vrabel and Mark Stillman are the co-founders of Energy Edge, a management services firm which provides a broad range of services to both energy marketers as well as the companies that provide their products and services to the industry. They are both students of the energy industry who continually study the changing dynamics of this exciting marketplace to help position their clients for the future. Both John and Mark have broad energy industry backgrounds as well as professional expertise in areas such as finance, business and product development, strategic planning, turnaround work for at-risk organizations, business funding and recapitalization, and executive management. In 2011, at the encouragement of several heating oil dealers, a separate standalone service or software business was launched. Today, the Energy Engine offers a proprietary turnkey e-commerce and behavioral marketing solution geared towards the heating oil and propane dealer community. Through these webinars, John and Mark hope to share some of the changes and challenges they see for our industry, stimulate a meaningful dialogue concerning these changes, and sometimes even challenge the conventional thinking of the industry. Presenting today's webinar is John Vrabel. John?
Hey, thanks, Adrienne, and good afternoon, everyone. It's certainly our pleasure to spend some time with you this afternoon. And I know we have a mix of existing clients that Adrienne said had registered for today's webinar, as well as the folks that maybe are involved with e-commerce but not one of our clients, which is certainly fine. We welcome the dialogue and input from you as well. And look forward to sharing with you some of our learnings and some information that we're seeing. This is an extremely timely webinar because you'll be seeing data from actually as recent as Monday, and certainly information from the month of November, which was kind of what prompted this webinar in the first place. So thanks for joining. Hopefully you have your favorite beverage, a cup of coffee or water. It's probably a little bit early for happy hour. But sit back, relax. If you have a notepad and a pen or a pencil, that probably will come in handy because this particular webinar is loaded with all sorts of data as well as information. Some of it you may find useful for your business, so we certainly invite you to use that and benefit from any of the experience that we've had through our client interactions. So with that, we're going to go ahead and get started. Here's what we're going to cover today, really 6 points, kind of how the heating season is shaping up so far. We're going to talk a little bit about Energy Engine network benchmarking, what it is. We're going to talk about the consumer's relationship with the internet. Consumers in general, you, I, our neighbors, or friends, maybe I'll take on the tone of a little bit of a Dr. Phil session. We'll see. Fourth, we're going to talk about selling fuel online, what homeowners like, what they don't like, how you can be successful doing it, and what it takes to be successful with e-commerce in the fuels industry. And then finally, the results. If you follow the guidance that we provide to our clients, what can you expect? And these are based upon the results from our network. And then we have a bonus today, depending upon how our time goes. And this is the first time we're doing this webinar, so we'll see. But we have a lot of information packed in here. But if we have time, we'll also share with you some myths and realities of e-commerce, and it's kind of some of the questions that we get repeatedly, and we'll share that information with you. If we don't have time, we can certainly share those myths and realities with you digitally, and between Adrienne and I, we'll figure that out before we leave you today. So with that, Like Adrian said, we do encourage your questions. Matter of fact, there will be a couple of times in this webinar where I'll ask for some of your input. And if you would just want to use the GoToMeeting panel on the side of your screen, and like Adrian said, just enter a question if you have it into the panel, or some of the information that we're just kind of asking you to share. And this would all be confidential and anonymous. A couple of numbers about your business, just trying to get a feel for maybe what you're experiencing. And if you can share that with the group, again, that will be confidential and anonymous, so your particular numbers or company or identity will not be disclosed. So with that, let's take a look at November temperatures. Many areas, it's been a very, very warm November. Certainly, just about all areas of the Northeast and actually beyond. Warmest November ever in Newark, New York City, warmest November on record. I sit in northeastern Pennsylvania, in the Pocono Mountains, and we've actually had 8 consecutive months of above average temperatures. So it's certainly starting out not the way all of us in the heating fuels industry would like to see our winter start out. Degree days year to date, or as they're measured, they reset the degree days July 1st. And so far, we're looking at a decline from normal in New England of 17%, pretty significant difference, Mid-Atlantic 23%. And matter of fact, you can see that really all regions of the U.S. compared to normal are down, as well as comparisons to last year as well. So, not telling you anything you don't know, but sometimes the numbers making an impression, just how warm it has been in November and actually so far this heating season. So what's ahead for us? Well, unfortunately, I don't have any better news to report because, as you've probably been hearing as well, there's a strong El Nino that is in the Pacific this year, and it looks like that's going to peak during the winter. So at least the long-range forecasts call for it to be warmer than normal for the winter. So that may be what's ahead for us. So I mean, one of the things that certainly all of you, I'm sure, and we do when you encounter weather, it's not anything new for our industry. We've been doing it as long as we've been in the business. But you want to adapt your business, you want to adjust your business to the needs, the things that you're facing, certainly weather in this case. And the other thing we're going to talk about, certainly in this webinar, is how the consumer is changing as well. But the interesting thing, and kind of what prompted this webinar, is I mentioned Energy Engine Network metrics. And as Adrian noted as part of the introduction, a number of years ago, we were prompted to actually develop an e-commerce software platform based upon work that Adrian and I had been involved with back as far as 2000. And we wound up developing the Energy Engine. And we have a network of clients that are on that. And one of the things that we do with our client base each year, and actually on a regular basis, is just share particular KPIs or key performance indicators, if you use those in your business, or other metrics, so you can actually see how well you're doing relative to other companies that may be also offering e-commerce to their customers. So one of the things that we saw in November, and it's really not unusual for November, our client network has been seeing strong increases in e-commerce, really driven by the consumer, which we'll talk about a little bit more. But in November specifically, the change from last November, even though it's been warmer, the change from last November is that orders are up across our entire client base. Actually, it's not our entire client base. I take that back. It's actually same store. So what that means is the client that would be part of this particular group would have had to have been in business last heating season as well. So we're not talking about any new client growth here that's influencing the numbers. These are all apples-to-apples comparisons of clients that have been in business or using e-commerce this season as well as last season. So orders for that group are up 9%. Gallons are up 18%, which is kind of a little bit interesting, and I'll share some information with you in just a second. So, so here are a couple of the questions for you that I mentioned, and if you can share this information with Adrienne, we'll certainly get to it a little bit later in the webinar, kind of getting some feedback from you, and you'll understand the significance of these numbers for you when we get to that point. But what's your average drop size as a company? What are the average number of gallons, and let's talk heating oil here. What's the average number of gallons that you deliver to a heating oil customer on your average stop? And you know, maybe there's somebody else in the company that has that information and you don't. So maybe you want to text them and get that, and then enter it into the panel and just send it over to Adrienne. And then the other number, and this one, you know, some of you may have it, some of you may not, and that's, you know, that's okay too. Is what is your cost to make a delivery? You know, what's your cost? What does it cost you to get your delivery truck to a homeowner's, to the point of delivery, a residential customer, a commercial customer for that matter? You know, and they're numbers that are published by the industry, and that's actually what we're going to compare to, and certainly we analyze against those as well. But we want to get your input as well to see what kind of a range we have on this particular webinar. But it would include your cost, your truck cost, your driver cost, your insurance cost, your fuel for the truck to be able to get there, your insurance cost, and so forth. Kind of everything that goes into running your fleet. What does it cost to get a delivery? But you know, what we're really trying to uncover as part of this webinar is, hey, what's really driving this e-commerce trend where the temperatures are warmer, but still gallons are up by 18%. And if you think about that, 23% down as far as degree days, or 17% down, you're looking at somewhere close to about a 40-point swing between those two. So it's pretty significant. So the question that we want to answer during this webinar is, you know, is why is that happening? So I promised the consumer's relationship with the internet and kind of bring you up to date on, you know, some of the latest numbers in terms of what the consumer is doing. Online retail sales, you know, this is the Amazon type of business, or eBay, or Best Buy, or Target, or whoever it might be. Online retail sales annually, year over year, have been growing at about a 14% rate. And that's expected to continue. And that compares to about a 1% growth rate for offline retail sales. So offline retail sales is kind of chugging along, getting a little bit of a bump every year on average. So you can see that online retail sales certainly are increasing at a much faster rate. 81% of people, okay, do research online before they make a purchase. You know, and I was thinking about, you know, some of the things that I've been doing here for the last week and a half. I'm sure many of you have been, you know, thinking about Christmas shopping, and if you're an online consumer, certainly I've been spending a good amount of time with Amazon, you know, making selections, and I find how quickly and how easily, you know, I'll look at Amazon and you know, and look at reviews, or find out information about a particular product that I might be interested in, comparing it to, you know, the multiple products that you may be able to get, you know, on a site like Amazon. Doing research before I make that purchase. 81% of people do that. So for your business, I mean, there are people that are out there right now on your website, or if not on your website, have a Google search page up in front of them and are typing in keywords that hopefully will get them to your website. They're doing that research. And then once they get there, of course, hopefully you have, and you're providing what it is that they're looking for. But 78% of the U.S. population today buys online, and I can tell you that that percentage is in fact low. So,
hey, John, excuse me. Is there a way we can get people to, we've got a lot of background noise. Maybe I can just ask again if they could put in their PIN number or simply mute their phone. That would be greatly appreciated. Sorry.
Can you hear me? Thanks, Adrienne. All right, so you know, this consumer's relationship with the internet is obviously very strong. It's probably something that I don't have to say, but certainly the numbers add credence to all of us really doing more and more all the time online. And I mentioned up-to-date numbers. Cyber Monday was just 3 days ago, I guess now. And the numbers are coming in. This Cyber Monday report as far as $3 billion in total digital sales, being the largest online sales day ever in history, comes from a company called ComScore, which is one of the companies that have been watching internet performance for years, so they're a very credible source. And that Cyber Monday record is actually 21% ahead of the largest previous record, or last year. But drilling down on those numbers just a little bit is also a little bit enlightening. I mean, obviously, online is growing. And we've probably heard the news reports that there weren't as many people that were in the stores. Black Friday kind of turned into Black Friday month, and so maybe some of it would spread out, and that's fine. But there's no doubt that online continues to grow as people respond to a number of different things that we'll talk about why they do that. But drilling down on these numbers just a little bit, 27% of that record purchase on Monday was done from mobile phones. 27%. Now, one of the other questions that, if you know the answer to this, you can send this over to Adrian from the chat screen as well. What is the percentage of people that come to your website today that are using a mobile device? If you know that, just send that number over to Adrian, and we'll share some of that information and some of the data that we have also a little bit later. But mobile is very important, and we'll see a little bit more about that in just a page or two. In terms of who's doing the business online, Amazon is number one. They are the 800-pound gorilla, and they are for a lot of good reasons. They do what they do extremely well. They are always raising the bar. Everyone is trying to keep up with Amazon in terms of the changes that they continue to make as far as the online shopping experience. So they set the bar, okay, so they're good. But keep in mind, when you or we are doing business online, we need to be providing consumers with that same type of Amazon experience, because that's what consumers have come to expect as Amazon continues to raise the bar. So this data actually also, I think this comes from ComScore, but anyway, this is why consumers buy online. What is it that motivates them to go online? You can see about 25% say, hey, I can have a larger selection. And the other day I was on Amazon, I was looking for cutlery. Oh my God, there must be 2,000 different offers that Amazon has in terms of cutlery. So certainly a large selection. 25% say better pricing, and we're going to talk a lot more about pricing actually before the end of this webinar and how it relates to fuels in particular. And then another 25% say that it's more convenient. And then you have some other things. Time savings, it takes me less time. It's easy to compare, certainly that's true. There's no sales tax, although some of that benefit is going away now. But that's why people are saying that they buy online. One thing I want to point out to you is if you look at these check marks here, and we're going to come back to these in just a second. All four of these items really are convenience attributes. So, the general certainly, yes, say it's more convenient, but convenience takes on different characteristics. To get a larger selection in one place certainly is an element of convenience. To save you time makes it convenient for you. To make it easy to compare is an element of convenience. So convenience, matter of fact, if you add those up, you're looking at roughly 50, a little bit better than 60% of the reason why consumers are buying online is a convenience-related attribute. Important. All right, so that's kind of the season. That's consumers and what they're doing with the internet currently. So let's turn our attention to our industry and fuels, and why homeowners are buying fuel online, and obviously from the numbers that we're seeing, buying more fuel online. So there are a number of reasons. The first one is really a behavioral thing, and this applies to fuel, but it also applies to most other purchases or transactions that are done online. Has to do with self-determination. You know, really what that means is that the consumer wants to determine on their own how they are going to make a purchase. In this particular case, as we're talking about e-commerce, the internet has provided us with more information at our fingertips than we've ever had available. If you're interested sometime and you're in the heating oil part of the energy industry, just plug the generic phrase heating oil into a Google search bar and click search, and you'll get better than 5 billion results coming back to you in about 2/3 of a second. So that's more information than any one of us could ever use. So we generally don't search on generic phrases just like heating oil. But the point is that there's more information out there that we have access to at our fingertips in a second than we've ever had before. So now it gives us the ability to self-determine what we want to do. We determine what we want to buy, when we want to buy it, and who we want to buy it from, and we want to do it on our terms. Okay, we want to be in control of that. And so that is one of the things that we need to understand in terms of the internet consumer and how we structure our business to be able to serve them. The second reason why homeowners buy online is in fact convenience, and certainly we saw that on the last page with the 60+% that said this is why I buy online. As far as fuel purchases, a number of things happen. They can certainly do it any time of the day. And when Adrian and I first started selling fuel online back in 2000, so a little bit better than 15 years ago now for us, you know, one of the things that I do, I get into the office on Monday morning and I pull up a report because I was curious, well, how many people, actually placed an order since we left the office on Friday afternoon. And I was always amazed at not only that people were placing orders, they were buying oil actively on Saturday, or they were doing it on Sunday afternoon during the football game, or they were doing it, you hear about people using the internet at 2 o'clock in the morning. Absolutely, people are buying heating oil at 2 o'clock in the morning. So they're really doing it on their terms, just like we're talking about self-determination, when it's convenient for them, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Obviously for you, it turns your business down into a 24-hour business if you are providing your 24-hour e-commerce convenience to them. Consumers will also tell us it takes them less time. All right, they can just go online, find that information just like they do a search, but they can do it quicker online than if they're calling in. And the fact of the matter is, you know, most of us, and I put myself in this category as well, if I have an option to go get what I want to get it online, I really prefer not to talk with anyone because I can do it faster. It can be quicker. I can get information. I can get it unfiltered. So, you know, people, today, for the most part, really would prefer not to have to talk with someone unless they really need information. So that's not to say, hey, you don't want to not answer your phone, or you don't want to provide good customer service. I'm not saying that at all. You do, because you have to share information when people want information, and you have to do it through the medium that they're requesting it. But generally people would have a preference. If they have to call in to place an order, they can do it online, and the screen in front of them, they'll do it online. They can also do it from their mobile device, certainly when they're on the go. And we're certainly seeing that more and more, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. One of the other reasons why they buy online is transparency. They can see information about their fuel purchases more than they ever have been in the past. They can go to a website and see the options that they have. They can go to one of our clients who are using the engine and see the fuels that they're offering. They can see the different prices that are available based upon the quantity that they intend to have delivered, and so forth. And they can see their pricing. Pricing, going back when Adrian and I started the first e-commerce platform in 2000, there were very few other places where you could find a price for heating oil online. Transparency was just only starting at that point. Today, if you are not transparent in terms of your pricing, the customer says, there's a reason why they're not transparent. I wonder what it is. Pricing, and we're going to continue to talk about pricing. I will say at this point, what the homeowner is looking for online in terms of buying fuel is fair pricing, not necessarily the lowest pricing. And that doesn't only go for fuel, that goes for other online purchases as well. I know darn well if I'm buying on Amazon that if I really took the time, I could probably provide, oftentimes find a lower price. Matter of fact, Amazon helps you find a lower price. They'll tell you if there are other sellers out there with a lower price. They share that information, they're upfront with it. But I don't care most of the time, because I get that convenience from Amazon, so it's easy for me to just click, and my information's already in Amazon, so I'm whatever they call it, it's a one-click or a three-click order or something like that. It's extremely easy for me to do that. I'm obviously already registered. It is convenient for me. And this, if you don't take anything else away from this webinar, this might be one of the things that may be a good takeaway for you. We heard customers tell us this many, many years ago, and today our clients are being told almost verbatim the same thing, that they may have originally they came to the business because of the price, or because of the competitive price, or your price was good, or it was a fair price. Again, it doesn't have to be the lowest price, and we counsel all of our clients that they do not need to sell at the lowest price, and tell them exactly how to pursue that. But customer will certainly determine that your price is fair before they purchase. But the reason that they stay with you is for the convenience. So you initially got them based upon an attractive price, but you keep them because you provide the convenience that it is that they're looking for. And remember, convenience is the most important thing why customers are buying more and more online today. I'd be remiss if we did not spend a little bit of time talking about mobile and responsive design. Mobile usage, you can't ignore it. Well, you can, but it would be to your detriment. Certainly you have a percentage of customers that are coming to your website today on a mobile device, but certainly one of the things that really pushed the mobile issue to the front burner was Google earlier this year saying, hey, if you do not have a mobile-enabled website, you're going to incur a penalty in terms of your search rankings, and a pretty significant penalty. So, Google, certainly is pushing the issue, but reality is the consumer was pushing it. Google just decided to change their algorithm because they saw so many people being mobile-enabled. They believe that trend is going to continue and it's going to accelerate. So they wanted to encourage everybody with a website to make your site mobile-friendly, because that's where the customer is in fact going. So what I have up here is just 2 pages. This happens to be an example from one of our clients. On the left there is their desktop website. If somebody's going to their particular website on a laptop or on a desktop, that's the page that they will see. To the right, though, if a customer picks up their smartphone and goes to the website, their website is smart enough to know that customer is coming to the site using a mobile device, and will automatically convert that site to a mobile-friendly screen. So, and you can't see all of it here because, of course, you need to do more scrolling on a smartphone. But you can see in this particular case, obviously, it identifies the company. In this case, they also determine, based upon some of the things that they're doing, that new customers are important to them, so they want to have that message front and center. The first option here was register. If we were to scroll down further on that, it's actually these other items: to get a price quote, to refer a friend, to log in and place an order, and I think they have one or two other options there. So it makes it very easy for somebody now on a smartphone to be able to navigate the Down East Energy site. If you think about this, and both Adrian and I are not very far from New York City, and if you think about Manhattan and the hundreds of thousands of people that are walking the sidewalks, every time I think about mobile, I think about Manhattan and the high use of mobile on the streets of New York. And if we're sending, one of our clients is sending out to their customers, and certainly we have those where their customers work in New York or live in New York, and they get a reminder on their phone that it's time to place their order, and they simply click the link in the message that they received, get to the client's website, and literally just go right in, and Adrian's reorder process is 4 clicks, so that they can confirm the gallons that they want, place the order, verify the order, and they're out and done while they're still crossing Broadway on the way to their next destination. That's the world that we're really living in today. It's a little bit accelerated in New York, but the rest of us are not all that far behind. So the first question, well, actually, I think I'm going to hold that for a second. We'll get back to that. So if you're offering e-commerce today, or even if you're not, maybe you're thinking about, does it make sense for my business to be able to provide e-commerce experience for my customers, or maybe new customers that I'd like to attract to my business? One of the things we're frequently asked is, what does it really take to have a successful business? You guys have been talking about e-commerce for a number of years. Certainly, you're doing it for a lot of companies. But how do I know I'm going to be successful at it? I don't know anything about this. So here are the things that you need. And if you're in that group, you may want to take some notes on this, because we're very much of the belief at Energy Edge and with our Energy Engine that we really don't want to talk any company into using e-commerce. We want them to be ready and actually make the decision themselves. We'll share information. We'll tell you what the benefits are. We'll tell you what the costs are. We'll tell you what the commitment is that you need to make. But ultimately, we want it to be your decision, because a company that's not quite ready just is not going to do as well as a company that says, "Yep, okay, I understand. We need to do this." Maybe they need some help to do it, and they can get that help from us or elsewhere, certainly. But these are the things that are needed. So the first and foremost, and this seems pretty obvious, but actually it's not, is you need to make a commitment. As the leaders of the business, the owner, the managers, whoever they are, need to say, this is something that we are going to do. It's important to our business. Strategically, this is why we're doing it. And here's who's accountable for the business. We have somebody in charge that is responsible for making this thing work, and we're going to devote the appropriate amount of resources to it. So that's what we're talking about commitment. Surprisingly, and even within our client base, we have some companies that have not made the commitment, even though they say that they want to do e-commerce. They're not giving it the commitment that it really needs. It is a new way of doing business. So one of the myths is, I'll give you a tip off to one of the myths, is if we build it, they will come, does not work as far as e-commerce goes. Just because you build a website, you could have the fanciest website, you could have all the bells and whistles in terms of your transactional engine, but unless you get traffic there, you need to hang out a sign. You need to invite people to come. They won't come automatically. They will never find you unless you do certain things. It's a big, they call it the World Wide Web for a reason. It's big, it is worldwide, and you need to stand out within those millions and millions of other options that are out there. The other thing you need is you need an e-commerce platform, but very specifically, you need one that is built for the industry. And we know this from experience. The Energy Engine is probably generation number 5 or 6. We'd have to look back to see that Adrian and I have been involved in building. Every one is better than the last because we continually learn, and the next one will be better than the one we currently have, without a doubt. Over time, we've looked at using third-party shopping carts and modifying it certainly to adapt to some of the needs of our industry. And every time we've looked at it, we've made a decision to actually code it from scratch ourselves because of a variety of a ton of unique needs for e-commerce in our specific industry and the fuels that we're selling, how we're delivering them, the tanks that they go in, and everything. So you really need an industry-specific e-commerce platform. Generalized shopping cart or a portal does not work in this particular case. Your e-commerce platform needs to be interactive. In other words, not only is the customer providing information to you or the prospect going to your website and requesting information from you, but you need to be providing information back to that customer. It has to go about both ways. It has to be interactive, and we talked about mobile. It certainly has to be responsive, because what customers expect is really that Amazon experience. They expect you to know them. They expect, based upon what they do on the site, for certain things to happen. They expect it to be extremely intuitive and simple, and making sure that it's meeting their needs. Otherwise, they're clicking off your site that fast. Before you launch the business, you need a solid branding and marketing strategy. How does this new e-commerce channel, if you think of it that way, fit into my existing business? Why am I doing it? How am I going to deal with my existing customers? Am I doing this for customer growth, which certainly we would suggest, or am I doing it to provide an added convenience to my existing customers? All those types of strategy type questions need to be answered. Branding is extremely important as well. We have clients that will use their heritage brand, which in virtually all cases we would recommend to be done because of the much stronger results that you will receive from that. But in other cases, we have clients that are using secondary or hybrid brands as well. But a branding strategy, it needs to be a very solid branding strategy done for the right reasons. You also need a digitally based marketing plan. The tactics, the marketing tactics of old, quite honestly, do not work for the most part today. There are a couple of minor exceptions, but your marketing plan needs to be a digitally based plan, and it needs to be executed by somebody that knows what they're doing. It needs to be executed by a qualified resource, whether or not we're talking about SEO, or we're talking about a Facebook strategy, or we're talking about somebody wants to do pay-per-click. And just one example, Google makes it awfully easy for anyone to do it yourself with AdWords. We have had clients that have gone that route, and smart people that have said, hey, how hard can this be? And Google makes it easy for me to do it, and so I'm doing it that way. And we've had clients come back to us and say, I've invested, this thousands of dollars, whatever it was, and I really couldn't see the results from that, so I stopped. And some of those clients, have said, hey, do you have somebody that, maybe can do this or pay attention to it a little bit more than I can? And we have a number of clients within our client base that, if they were probably on this call and were asked the question, they'd probably readily admit, once I had somebody doing that for me that knew what they were doing, know how to set the budgets, knew the search phrases that needed to be used, knew things about time of day in terms of search or pay-per-click, knew the different alternatives for pay-per-click outside of Google, all those sorts of things. Whatever you're doing, it needs to be done by a qualified resource. And the reason I provide that emphasis on that is we've seen so many of our clients, and matter of fact, when we were running e-commerce businesses ourselves up until 2009, quite honestly, we tried to use resources that weren't qualified. And we didn't know that until we didn't get the results. And, we wasted that money. And honestly, today we see more people that say that they are SEO experts that are not. There are more out there that just, think that they know and can get the job done. There are fewer that are really good at it. So you need qualified resources are precious. Certainly we provide referrals to our clients on a regular basis so that they can learn from and get the benefit from some of the best. You need to provide competitive pricing. You need to provide consistent pricing. Consistent pricing, what I mean is if you have a pricing strategy and you say, okay, listen, I'm going to set my price. I want to be competitive in the market, so I'm going to set my price at the dominant, say, on-demand, or as we've historically called COD or will call price that's available in my market. Let's say that's my pricing strategy, to set it with that dominant price any particular day. And you do that for a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden you set your price 5 cents a gallon higher, or you set it 5 cents a gallon less. Customers that are trying to make a decision to buy from you and are going to your site, that are monitoring prices, maybe they've seen information that you've provided to them, they found you on the internet, they're trying to figure out if you're a good option for them to get their heating oil, you're going to confuse them. They're not going to know what to expect, and consequently what happens is you reinforce their prior behavior. And maybe that prior behavior was, hey, every time I want to fill my tank, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call a half a dozen companies and see what their price is. Except now you're one of those companies. They don't have to call. They can go online to see what your price is. But if they see you higher than that group at times and lower than that group other times, every time they're going to want to go and say, well, okay, where do you fall this time? And more importantly, they're going to say, why do you fall there if you're not consistent on pricing? So you don't want to raise questions in the customer's mind. What you want to do is you want to, in fact, provide the customer with consistent pricing that they can depend on every time, so that they can, in fact, provide satisfactory. You can provide them with satisfactory service, but more importantly, they are comfortable with the decision that they're making in terms of your pricing. You need to know your customer. Now, your smart, your interactive e-commerce platform certainly should provide you with that, so that you can speak with that customer based upon, whether or not they're an existing customer, whether or not they're a prospect that's thinking about becoming a customer, whether or not there's somebody that's loyal, or whether or not there's somebody that's still kind of shopping around. And then you want to communicate with that customer, and you want to communicate with them on a regular basis. You want to do it digitally. Hopefully your e-commerce platform does a lot of that automated for you, so just based upon whatever that customer or that visitor does to the website, you can communicate back to them. But you also want to use, as an example, e-newsletters, which are extremely, extremely powerful in this business, providing that customer with useful information in that e-newsletter. And we can do an entire webinar on newsletters itself. And then the last thing is you need to have fun along the way. People that are using the internet, they don't want to be too serious about using the internet. We have clients that will use some humor in terms of the website. That's perfectly okay. It's really about your brand personality, and certainly you, in terms of running the business, you should be having fun along the way. Once you figure out how to run an e-commerce business, honestly, it's pretty darn easy to do it once you learn what some of the tactics need to be, how you manage the business, what numbers to watch on an ongoing basis to make sure that you're making your budgets and so forth. So, but if you do all that, what are the results? And the results, quite honestly, are really worth it. You will, in fact, grow customers. Matter of fact, we believe, or the thing that we tell companies that are considering becoming a client is, really in our mind, the only reason to do this is if you want to grow your business, because that's what the energy engine was designed to do. We think it sells e-commerce very short if you just try and do something to just enable customers, existing customers, to have more convenience. That's important, but there's so much more that e-commerce can provide to you. And I'm not going to go through all of these customers. Certainly, these come out of the Energy Engine network benchmarks. But new customers acquired, whether it's year 1, year 2, year 3, are considerable. These are averages out of the network. So this is data that we consistently see, and we're comfortable sharing at this point. A big one is the cost of customer acquisition. Doing it online will save you somewhere in the neighborhood of 90% of the cost that the industry continues to report in terms of the average cost of customer acquisition. Let's get to that question about average drop size, because average drop size increases if you're doing things in a certain way online. Adrian, did we have any feedback in terms of average drop sizes from our audience today?
We did. We didn't have a lot, but we did get some, and it looks like they're talking anywhere between 140 and 180.
Okay, good. Excellent. The 140, I can give you some industry numbers. The industry number is 139 on average, so 140 is right there. And that's a mix of all the heating oil that you're delivering, your full service, if you have those, your will call customers that you have. The 180, maybe that's one of our Energy Engine clients that reported that, because one of the things that happens, you have the ability, e-commerce, to do things that are very difficult to do in a call center. For example, setting different pricing levels and actually holding to them. Giving the customer a little bit of a discount if they actually can take a delivery of 200 gallons. Because if they get a discount at the 200-gallon level, you're going to have a good percentage of customers that will say, all right, I'm going to watch my gauge a little bit closer, and I'm going to wait till I get to a quarter tank, and I'm going to place that order so I get 200 gallons and I save a couple of pennies. Consequently, your average drop size with e-commerce customers is going to increase by 30%, even as high as 50%. So if you think back to one of our first slides where we said our clients in November, their orders were up by 8%, but the gallons were up by 18%. When I saw that, I said, wow, something's going on there. The average drop size across that client base, that same store group in November, was 198 gallons. So let's go to the other part of the information I asked for. Adrian, did we get anything as far as average delivery cost?
We only received one. I'm guessing that we don't have a lot of the financial departments on the call, but the one that we did get was 18 cents a gallon. Okay, 18 cents a gallon, pretty good. The industry average that's generally reported is about $27.80, a couple pennies more than 20. I love the 18 cents because, quite honestly, that is an area of virtually everybody's operations that is holding the most potential for you to increase your margins of anything else. So if you do the math, now in our analysis, we're a little bit generous and we say, okay, if you take 139 gallons and at $27.80, you're looking at somewhere, or somebody could do the math, but I think it's somewhere north of 26 cents a gallon. If you now take that 139, instead of delivering the industry average at 139, and you move that up to about 190, which is where our network falls out typically after a season, you actually reduce your cost to deliver per gallon by about 25%. It's huge.
So, if you could get every customer up at that level, it becomes a exceptionally more profitable delivery. One of the things that we hear our clients say is, after they started e-commerce and they started generating some gallons, is that their overall business becomes more profitable, or the core part of the business becomes more profitable. And what drives that is typically increased efficiency in the fleet, where you're using your same fleet, and most companies have a tremendous amount of excess delivery capacity. And if you can get more gallons off of the same trucks, more gallons from the same drivers, because one of the things that you do if you increase your number of customers that you're serving within your territory is you increase your delivery density. So now you're delivering to customers that you were previously driving right by. As you do that, you have a huge, huge potential to reduce your cost and actually increase the margins in your business. So that's that. Spent a lot of time on that, and I'm watching the clock so that we stay true to our commitment here to you. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up here pretty quickly. A couple of other things in terms of e-commerce that are extremely important. We talked about efficiency of the fleet. We talked about efficiency of customer acquisition. Financially, the financial people love it. There are no receivables. As long as you're following our guidelines, there's no bad debt, there are no collections, and there's minimal customer service expense. So from the financial management perspective, I mean, it's a hearty 2 thumbs up. The other thing, and this surprises a lot of people, certainly it surprised us when we first discovered this, was we are able to build stronger customer relationships digitally than we ever expected possible. And that also leads to greater customer loyalty. So now, instead of a customer coming to you online and buying 1 order a year, now they're buying the multitude or the majority of their gallons from you. And the better that you get at that, that on-demand customer buying from you via e-commerce becomes a lot like an automatic customer. They're easy to service. You go out and you make the delivery. And one of the things that we're not going to have time to go through today, and we have a slide on this, is with e-commerce done based upon our recommendations anyway, you will actually take out a full 10 cents per gallon on your order fulfillment cost. And that even includes the increased cost that you'll have for using credit cards online. But your net is 10. It may in fact be a little bit more than 12 cents depending upon your particular situation. So think of that as just like, being able to go out today and buy your oil for 10 cents less a gallon. What kind of impact would that have on your margin? That's the kind of impact that e-commerce can have on your business. So this is the 10 cents per gallon. Again, we'd be glad to spend time with anybody that has questions on that. We can go through that, and certainly most of our clients have seen this, and in a lot of cases, we've actually done this analysis based upon their actual costs, so we can get that accurate for them. But if you do all these things, this is what you can expect. Well, this is what you can expect in terms of results. Again, these come out of our network metrics. In the first year, or it's not the first year, it's actually the first heating season. So these are 6 months results. These are October to March results. In the first year, we're expecting, based upon the experience of our clients, they register 482 new customers their first heating season. Obviously, it goes up in the next year. They do better than 100,000 gallons in their first year. By their second year, they're up over 400,000 gallons, and it's building from there, largely because in our particular case, we are absolutely anal about capturing email addresses because it is such a valuable resource for you. And then using those email addresses, or as we call them, E-List Gold, to go back and market to those customers, to acquire those customers that came shopping but didn't buy, to go back and activate those customers that registered but haven't yet placed their first order, to remind a customer that, hey, it's time for your next delivery. All of those things wind up building a business very quickly. And again, these numbers are averages, and we have clients that are doing way more than these numbers. So it can be a very, very rewarding business. So with that, time-wise, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up now. We're not going to get to the bonus myths and realities, but again, we'll be able to share those with you. I'm going to go ahead and turn it back to Adrian at this point for Q&A.
Okay, great. As we mentioned in the beginning, if you have any questions, just simply type them into the chat area, and we'll address them. John, what did you mean that you hope that the sites would communicate automatically? You were talking about emails, and I guess you're talking about like confirmation emails, maybe.
Well, it could have been. So so some of the things, if you think about the Amazon experience, if you when you go to buy at Amazon, the Amazon certainly if you're placing an order, you'll get an order confirmation on screen. You'll get an order confirmation by email. Your order then ships. You get an email from Amazon saying, hey, your order is shipped. Your order has been delivered. You get a delivery confirmation. Similar needs to be done with fuel. Otherwise, customers don't know what's going on, and it makes your phone ring. And making your phone ring is inconvenient for the customer, most importantly, but it also costs you money too. But you don't want to be inconvenient for the customer. You want to give them that Amazon experience. So your e-commerce platform should be confirming an order, when it's placed, so that customer has in their inbox or maybe in their cell phone via text confirmation of that order. When you schedule, or your dispatcher schedules that order for delivery, there should be another communications going to the customer that says, hey, we expect to deliver your order on this day. So they know when it's coming. Guaranteed. If you don't do that, your phone's going to ring. And then after the delivery is made, you want a delivery confirmation that goes to them. Maybe they ordered 200 gallons. Maybe they only took 180. So you want to be able to tell them that. You need to be able to tell that customer automatically on that confirmation that, hey, you took 20 gallons less than you ordered and paid for. So here's the credit that's been put back on your card. And you probably also want to, or at least we would recommend at that particular point, you want to either give them the opportunity to rate your performance, or maybe you want to ask them for referrals or give them an incentive to provide referrals to their friends and family at that particular point. So that's an example of confirmations or information or communicating with the customer. Thinking about Amazon again, if you log in, if you're an Amazon buyer and you log into Amazon, you're going to see suggestions for products based upon behavior that you have exhibited on the Amazon site. Behavioral marketing is also something that should be part of your e-commerce platform. So if a customer comes to your site, to your e-commerce site, and they look at it, they check your price, which is typically the first thing that they do, unless they're just coming there and they're doing research, and then they're probably going to your About Us page. But the first conversion point that we want a visitor to make at the site is to actually look at your price for their particular town. So they may in fact do that, and then they may leave for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't like what they found. Maybe they really don't need a delivery yet. They were just learning about you as part of the research. At that particular point, though, you have information about them. You know where they live by zip code. You know how to communicate with them, and you know what fuel they use. So if your system has the ability to then automatically go back to that prospect at that point, because they're not yet a customer, and say, hey, thanks for visiting. We'd love to have you as a customer. Here are some of the reasons that you should become a customer, why it would benefit you. And maybe even if you have the capability, you may even want to present them with a new customer promotional allowance good on their first order if they place their order within the next 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever you would decide. So there's an example of taking a customer or a prospect anyway that you have already paid for. Okay, you've already paid to get that prospect to your website. They've come, they've looked, they've left. With e-commerce, you have the capability to, Adrian will say politely chase, but I'll say remarket to them. And it's like that customer that calls in, and says, hey, what's your price? Okay, thank you very much, buy click. If you ever thought about if you could go back to every one of those customers that called and didn't buy, and you'd be able to explain to them why they should become one of your customers, how many more you can get, well, that you can do with e-commerce at virtually no cost. So that's another example of having an interactive site with information going both directions. Behavioral marketing is absolutely awesome, but that interactivity is important. So hopefully that answers that question.
Okay, good. Is setting up e-commerce or a website expensive?
Well, it depends how you do it. Really depends how you do it. The first time when I came into this part of the energy industry in 2000, came in specifically to launch an e-commerce business. It was the vision of an entrepreneur that I went to work for, and Adrian worked for as well. And that first e-commerce platform that was built, that we launched, cost $1.2 million. Now, before you all pass out and have to pick yourself up off the floor, the cost of technology has gone down dramatically. And quite honestly, the reason why Adrian and I made a decision a number of years ago to invest in building the energy engine was we had several companies come to us and say, hey, could you build a platform for us? And we did. They were custom platforms that we built. They honestly were not very complicated or elegant, didn't have any of the bells and whistles, but it was pretty darn expensive to do that for them on a custom basis because custom work is expensive. So that's when we decided that there's certainly a market out there. The industry was starting to get serious about e-commerce. So we decided to invest in the energy engine, which is what's called a white labeled product. So all of our clients, all the engine does is run behind the scenes and makes everything work. Everything that the customer sees is up to our clients. But we decided to invest in that so that we could provide a best-in-breed solution for fuel companies, but we essentially share that cost across a lot of clients, which is what we do today. In terms of the energy engine, I can tell you quickly, an annual license fee for the energy engine is $5,900 for a heating oil module, and that includes hosting. Everything's done on the cloud. You get all upgrades and enhancements that are done during the course of that license period free of charge. There's no additional charge. We never send you an invoice for support and maintenance. Adrian is our director of IT and client services, so she's generally the primary point of contact. She has a team behind her that keeps everything running or does the actual coding. So you never get a separate support and maintenance invoice. You don't have to host the website any place. It's all hosted on our server, so everything's really all included. So what you need to do then is you need to make some investment in marketing, as you would for any business. The good news about marketing is digital marketing is much less expensive than traditional marketing that we've all done. So you have savings in that regard as well. So yeah, that's roughly. So actually, compared to launching a business, launching an e-commerce fuel business, particularly inside an existing fuel company, it's pretty darn inexpensive. Most of our clients will pay back everything that they do within the first year. Some of them faster than that.
Okay. Is it too late this season to get a website?
No, I would say not. No, matter of fact, Adrian's team is working on a number now. We have, in fact, earlier or yesterday, I guess, we did two demos for clients that are interested. We had one that had to be postponed today. We have another one tomorrow. So, companies are continuing to come in, really in terms of getting up wide, at least in terms of the energy. I mean, if you're doing something more custom, obviously it would take you much more time. But doing something like the energy engine, you know, some of it is depending upon you getting information back to Adrienne and her team, like your delivery territory by zip code, and she has a way of helping you out with a lot of that. But, you know, comfortably, as long as you're focused, comfortably, you can be up and running in 30 days. Adrienne, how fast have you done it?
We've done it in as low as I think it was less than 10 days, but there was no waiting list, and the people that did it were right there on the ball. They had all their design. They took my booklet, filled it out. In fact, I think they hold the record for getting it back as quick as they did. So we've done it in I think it was 7 to 10 days. I have to verify it. But on average, we're looking at maybe 2 to 4 weeks.
Yeah. So yeah, you could certainly be up and running this season and have January, February, and March, half the season, and hopefully the coldest half of the season, to begin to develop your e-commerce business.
Okay, looks like the last question, and that is, what did you mean by if you follow our guidelines, there's no bad debt?
Great question. The easiest way to answer that question is when you're running an e-commerce business, you want to take credit cards and debit cards. If you're going to take, or you want to take electronic payments, I guess a little bit broader. If you're taking electronic payments, we would recommend, based upon our own experience, not to take an e-check that cannot be verified. And we certainly would try and persuade you not to take cash or checks. Fact of the matter is they cost you more money to do that than taking credit cards for a variety of different reasons. And we can go through that. But even our friends that are in markets like Long Island, where they insist, I have to take cash. I mean, the engine will allow you to do that. It's made to provide that flexibility for you. It's made to be flexible for your business. As Adrienne says, it's your business, so you get to set the rules. So all that flexibility is built into the engine. But boy, every opportunity I have to talk with those clients, I try and talk with them about moving away and how to do it effectively with their customers so that they're not taking cash or checks, because those, in fact, will result in bad debt. You're going to have bad checks that you're not going to be able to collect on.
Okay. And I agree, John. I totally agree with that. Okay, so at this point, there are no more questions. So thank you, John, and thank you to our attendees for taking the time for this webinar. You will be receiving an email from me with instructions on how to request either a more personalized demo, or if you have any other further questions on how to reach out to us. I do not think that John meant the entire time to cover his phone number with his little highlighter. He has moved it now, but I will certainly furnish that in the email as well. So with that, I'd like to thank you again, and I hope everyone has a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, everyone.